us here on Politics Today on Channels Television. After the annulment of the June 12 presidential election, there were wide protests and agitation on the action of the then military government. That election, we saw Chief Moshood Abiola emerge as the president-elect, is judged as perhaps the freest and fairest in Nigeria's electoral history. It's 21 years since the annulment, and since 1998, the man at the center of the issue died. Well, there have been several debates on what should be the essence of the day nationally. Well, tonight we'll be discussing on several issues on the June 12th. But first, let me give you an understanding of what happened last Thursday. There was a rowdy session at the National Conference on Thursday over a motion calling for delegates to recognize the sacrifice of those Nigerians, including late Moshood Abiola, who lost their lives for what is now termed the June 12 struggle. Although delegates observed a 1-minute silence in honor of those who died, delegates got into shouting match as some of them opposed the motion. The chairman of the National Conference, Idris Kutugi, however, ruled that a moment's silence be observed in honor of those who lost their lives in the June 12 struggle. Well, let's hear what some of the argument really was there at the National Conference.
We should pay tribute to those who fell for the cause of democracy, spearheaded by Moshood Abiola. We should always remember this day as a watershed in the history of Nigeria. Thirdly, a monument in tandem with what we had proposed for other heroes and heroines.
So I rule that we all stand up and order 1 minute silence over the party. May the soul of all those who died in the cause of June 12 rest in perfect peace.
Well, that was a bit of the event which happened at the floor of the National Conference in Abuja on Thursday, whether or not the June 12 should be honored or should be remembered nationally. Well, it means slightly a different thing in the southwestern part of Nigeria, where some states declared a public holiday, while in some other parts of the country it is not so. On the program tonight, we'll want to look at what exactly does this day stand for. Let me start with you, Honorable West Idahosa. From your own point of view, 21 years ago, there were wide protests on the issue of the annulment of June 12. Today, what do you think is the relevance of that particular day and the event?
Well, there is no question about the fact that June 12 is a very critical day to our democratic history. It is agreed by all sections of our country that on that day we conducted the freest, or so to speak, the fairest and the most credible elections in this country. On that day we surrendered our tribal differences, we surrendered our religious differences, surrendered our sentimental differences, went to the polls and did the needful, elected somebody based on our perception of his qualification to lead our country. What is important about that day is not just that that election took place, but that the perceived winner of that election, in his struggle to actualize his mandate, was detained, brutalized, and possibly died in incarceration. Everywhere in the world, when that happens, it must fire the zeal of that occasion and send into the memories of that nation a reason for that season. There must be, when you say the season of democracy, in Nigeria today, there is a reason for Nigeria's season of democracy. And I think that June 12 represents the beginning of the Fourth Republic, because one of the reasons why the military was quickly pressured into surrendering the arena to the political class was because of June 12. And one reason today why we have also maintained momentum was also because the civil societies perfected the art of struggling for democracy using June 12th as a rallying umbrella. So there's no question of its significance to this country, and the least that we can do as a nation is to find one way or the other to immortalize that as part of our national history. So I am not too surprised that one or two states have on their own taken the initiative to declare that a public holiday. Now, whether the attitude of the entire nation, of all the states of Nigeria, will be the same on this matter is indeed a debatable phenomenon. And that is part of why June 12 means to many Nigerians many things. But ideally, in a democratic sense, June 12 should mean the same thing to all Nigerians. It must mean the spirit of democracy. It must be remembered as a nation, and we must dedicate a day to celebrate it.
Do you think the June 12 experience has impacted in any way on our present democratic practice?
Thank God for starters that I'm on the same page with my brother in Abuja. At least, yes. But about impact, no. But again, before that again, this issue is not the issue of a minute standing, a minute silence for somebody. This issue is about giving honor to whom honor is due. This man paid the supreme sacrifice. Some people say Abiola is not the only one who died. Yes, but he's a figure. He towers above all others. I was involved in the struggle. I almost got killed, and I saw some of our colleagues in the trenches that were killed. But yes, he is the figurehead. And this man sacrificed his life. If some other persons, maybe when Babangida declared the election, cancelled the election, we all go back to our homes. But Abiola was another person entirely. He was a phenomenon. And because of that, of course, the whole thing took a dimension that, in fact, as I talk to you now, it frightened Babangida out of office. So, for someone now to say that that man should not be recognized is not fair, because, look, we must celebrate our own. What was it now? Martin Luther King is celebrated in America. Malcolm X is celebrated. So what is the difference for Abiola? This man... Is
it about the person? Some people are arguing about the personality or the event.
Whichever way I say, he symbolizes the event. If it were somebody else, I mean, we've had elections in this country, but this one is a unique thing. And we should look at the uniqueness of the event. It doesn't matter. Let me look at it, my brother. The other day, we were fighting that Jonathan be enthroned as president of this country when the cabal wanted to mess him up. It's not about Jonathan. It's about that office. It's about the principle behind it. I don't care. I have nothing to do with Jonathan, but mine is that justice must be done. And we moved and ensured that justice was done in the Jonathan case. It's the same thing here. Let justice be done, because tomorrow it may be you. As a lawyer, I know what I fight injustice for people. So just injustice, again, is a circle. And I told anybody who cares to listen, we run a victim system. They stood up there, they have 1 minute silence. They too, if they die, and they have contributed immensely, wouldn't they want to be recognized for their work? It's a simple thing, and that's why, again, I said, let's look at Isaiah 5:20. You see, this whole thing is that let's look at it and call a spade a spade. Whatever is good should be done. Let's look at what obtains. I said, let us promote heroism. Let's promote nationalism. The policeman on the street who ensures that the road is not blocked for you to get to your point of work, and all others, are they recognized? Let's recognize those who ought to be recognized, not those who have been able to steal government money.
What do you think is the impact on our present democratic practice?
What has it done? Nothing. In fact, the man died for nothing, because the man said he's bringing hope 21 years ago. He's bringing hope to Nigeria. And if you remember the theme song, hope, the song just ran off now. But the man's theme was hope. Everyone thought, yes, there will be hope in terms of industry, in terms of economy, in terms of education, in terms of good health, and so on. As I'm talking to you now, those hopes are dashed. As I'm talking to you now, I'm sure you run this project and this office now on generator. And of course, your people will come and tell us that, yeah, they have generated enough megawatts. I live in the redemption camp. We are on turbine 24/7 in this country. Electricity does not fail. And is it impossible? What's the big deal about running government? The man is saying it's as simple as that, because you have all the wherewithal to run it. And if you know the kitchen is hot, you bow out.
Don't you think that there are actions that are being made, there are efforts being made to fix all of these things?
I don't know how long it will take. If you spend 20
There's
years
always
to
a
prepare,
process,
if you spend 20 years to
isn't it?
prepare madness, my brother.
There's always a process to a
What
particular
process?
point.
What process? What process?
You didn't see
What process? The other day I went to the south. I went to to Port Harcourt by road deliberately. After you left Patani or Warri, after Warri, the road there is a death trap. How long will it take?
Right.
They've been on that road for more than 8 years.
Let me go to Honorable Idahosa in our Abuja studio. What would you say are the lessons for Nigerians or politicians based on the June 12 experience?
Pardon?
I said, what would you say are the lessons for Nigerians based on the June 12 experience? The lessons to be learned.
Well, I think the first lesson.
What would you say are the lessons for Nigerians based on the June 12?
I think the first lesson is to appreciate that there is no alternative to democratic forms of government, and that it remains the best form of government where the people have a say in their affairs. And then the second is that the people always get what they want. You must understand that agitations and expressions of your inputs into the system result in the outputs which you get from the system. So, as you say in the computer language, garbage in, garbage out. So one thing is clear, June 12 has brought about is that there has been some electoral impetus in this country where the people themselves know that if they ask for their rights, stand for it, and continue to do the same over and over again, somebody is going to hear their voice, and at some point, they are going to get their way. And this is a critical element of democracy, and I think that it was June 12 that helped to nurture this element in the Nigerian political space. So for us, June 12 should continue to fire the dynamism of democracy and help us to transform from the type of electoral democracy, or what I call the basic voting democracy that we are in today, to some form of liberal democracy, where we not only just vote, we respect the fundamental rights to exist, we guarantee our freedom to be happy and our right to pursue a means of livelihood and the rest of it that goes with democracy. And I think that if we do that, and remember June 12 as a guiding light, sooner or later, our democracy will begin to make serious and significant progress.
Just briefly, if you would like to comment on these, if the 1993 process was seen as perhaps the freest and fairest in Nigeria's electoral process, what was it that was done right as we go into 2015 that we could copy and take a cue from?
I think the first element of that election was that there was serious voters' education. People were seriously educated. They got the opportunity to listen carefully to the reasons for that exercise. They bought into the exercise. They understood the exercise fully. And then, of course, they were able to participate. But I think that the government is paying less attention to voters' education. This is a civic responsibility on the part of the government, and that can help to eliminate the influence of money politics at the preeminent level that it occupies today. It is not to say that it will not be there, but it will definitely play a less important role in decision-making process by the electorate.
Time. Let me ask your comment on this briefly, because we don't. Our time is fast spent.
I just appreciate what you just said. What we need is serious voter education, and that's why my group comes in. Just let people Google www.votersawareness.org, and let's move it. We must be involved in serious voter education this time around. We can't continue to move in this circle of Baba circle. What do you call it now? Baba's chair circle. No, let us move it. So either you search us on Facebook, that's Voters Awareness, or www.votersawareness.org. We want to be involved in massive voter education to ensure that indeed the Nigerian people are educated on their civic and political rights, so that we'll not be led by the nose anymore.
Thank you so much. But I mean, those are my guest contribution on the program. But just before we go now, let me read one or two tweets that you sent to Ross from Badru 75. He says, the law has always been there on what obtains for a defected lawmaker. The inability to effect it lies with INEC. That's Badru 75. Thank you for that tweet. Also, Bonnie Bush also says that if cross-carpeting politicians from PDP are removed, then those crossing to PDP should also be removed. That's how far we can go on the program. Thank you for being a part of the show. On behalf of the team, I want to thank my guests, Mr. Wale Ogunade and Honorable West Idahosa from our Abuja studio. On behalf of the team, my name is Sean Okinbaloye. Bye for now.